Should we see if this works? What do you think? What do you think?
Work. I can't believe I'm the only one you can't invite in.
I know, right? It was the funniest thing, right? Whereas Jane's my best friend, right? And she's seen pretty much everything, and we tried to like keep in touch and go to all each other's lives and things, which is fine. But then we've done joint stuff before, so it's like Geddy, yeah, go on, yeah, it'd be great. We'll come on, it'd be great. Have a laugh, first show and all this sort of thing, great stuff. But then like I'm getting like AJ Mirza come on, and I'm like, how can I bring him on, but not Cindy? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's weird.
Like, so I don't know. I don't know what it is because I know you do your own stuff as well. So there was like a piece of me that was like, well, it's not like Cindy's fault. It's not like she's turned the privacy off on her camera or anything.
No,
it's
exactly.
Probably just like Facebook just kicking us in the teeth again. So anyway.
Okay, we're doing the show on my page.
Should be interesting. See, I'm on my phone as well, so I can't really do anything from Zoom in terms of like sharing it out. So yeah, I'll do all that afterwards as well, if that's all right. So afterwards, I'll basically just plaster it everywhere.
Totally. My profile's all public, so you can share it wherever you want.
Cool. Awesome. All right, so we'll get there eventually.
Biz from the inside out. Oops.
So you know when you do the live, so it's when you, because I know you're recording now, I think that's an automatic thing with Zoom when you do that.
Yeah.
When you go on the Facebook part of it, are you able to see Facebook? Are you able to see like the comments and everything? So it like goes from Zoom into Facebook.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? It changes the window, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. So it streams straight into Facebook, and then I can see the comments and everything too.
Oh, cool. All right. Because I do like I use Zoom for pretty much everything.
Right.
From like client stuff to podcasts to random trainings that I do. So aside from Facebook Live, it's always Zoom that I use.
Right.
So if I could use Zoom, that'd be great. But if it is too complicated to set up the extra stuff, then we'll have to. Because I've heard a lot of people use Be Live as well. So Be Live is quite popular.
Yeah, it is.
So I'm half thinking, well, could I use that instead? So we'll see. Anyway, they seem to be my two options. But if I could choose, I would just do Zoom, because I can do Zoom on my phone. And then when I do the Facebook thing, it'll just switch to Facebook. And then it should, fingers crossed, should work.
Should being the key word.
Yeah, we've been having the shoulds for a while, haven't we? We've been doing the shoulds for a while. All right, so I can't go live, so this is kind of on you, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
we are ready to go.
I am ready when you are.
All right. We're live.
Awesome. You got there in the end. You managed to find somewhere to do this thing. But yeah. This is like, what, is it third or fourth attempt? I think this is probably fourth attempt. Yeah. So we tried the page, we tried Zoom, we tried the profile, and we tried back on Zoom again, and it worked. Awesome. So we made it. So this is the first episode of Biz from the Inside Out. And it used to be a solo show, but now we've decided it's going to be a joint show. I've decided it's going to be a joint show where I bring someone on who has a specialist area of expertise. There's someone that just is just passionate about something. So it doesn't have to be like a coaching related thing, or I am an expert in funnels kind of person. It can be someone that has a passion about something that's related to business, and we just chat about it. Pretty much the idea. So it's pretty informal, just a conversation. and we have Cindy joining me, who's going to talk to us about self-awareness and how that can impact your business and also benefit your business as well. So, Cindy, fourth time lucky, share with us a bit about yourself, so a bit about your background, and kick things off for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that we're doing your show on my profile. That's always fun. We're doing things differently today.
Yeah, always different.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the importance of knowing who you are when you're running a business is really the most important thing, in my personal opinion. I started out with an online business as a technical VA, and I was really good at doing the back end stuff. So I was good at building websites, good at doing the sales funnels and all the technology and integrating all the moving pieces that people need to run their online businesses. But what happened was I had told myself that I wanted freedom, and that was my number one value, was having that freedom. But what ended up happening is I was stuck in front of my computer for 15 hours a day, 7 days a week, building other people's dreams. Yes, I was good at it, but I was miserable. And that business was completely out of line with who I am and how I best show up in the world. I was stuck in front of my desk all the time, never going outside, hardly getting any exercise. I was killing myself, burning the candle at both ends, trying to make ends meet, running a business that it was forced. It didn't come naturally. And when I discovered, I received a divine purpose blueprint back in January and started working with a coach, and it really shed light on who I am and how I best show up in the world. And in the course of the last 10 months, I have completely transitioned my business. I no longer do VA tech work. I actually hired a VA to do that stuff for me because it's not in alignment with who I am. Building websites is not what Cindy does. I have a team to do that now. And so I work with people. I get to talk to people all day long. I am behind my desk for approximately an hour or two per day. And most of that time is on Zoom calls with clients and connecting and reaching out with people. I have freedom to go do what I want when I want. I work about 20 hours a week right now and make more money than I did as a tech VA. I'm in alignment with my values, and I get lit up every time I get to go to work. I get to go to work. I think it's play now instead of work. So it's really important because you spend the majority of your time usually working. And if you don't love it, then what are you doing? You're wasting
Yeah,
your
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you mentioned the idea of values coming into it. So when people think about values, they often think of it as being something complicated. I mean, like words can be complicated. You know, how people describe things, how people communicate things, and one of the easiest ways of describing it, at least in my experience, is being priorities. So rather than values as such, even though values is how I would describe them and how a lot of other coaches would describe them, to the people that haven't got a clue, so the people that like really struggle to grasp the idea of values, it's about personal preferences. It's about the things that are important to you.
Yes.
And they do tend to be something that's it's there already, is what we're kind of getting across as well. Is like the things that you value, the things that you prioritize, they are either something that you're aware of or something that you're not aware of. But 9 times out of 10, we act in alignment or not, or misalignment with them. Like anyway, like it's something that we do anyway. So what benefits have you noticed from realizing what yours are?
Oh man. Well, first of all, actually, I just talked about this on another live this morning about my value of freedom. Freedom is the most important thing to me. And a year ago, I had moved into my boyfriend's house and I'd stuck my desk in a corner and put a screen behind it so it was fully blocked off. And throughout the course of the next few months, I couldn't figure out why I was miserable, why I didn't want to go to work in the morning. I had this home office. I thought I had set it up nice, but what what I had done was created a cubicle for myself. So I would stick myself in this
Yeah.
box every day. And I'm like, wait, this is not conducive to freedom. I'm staring at a blank white wall all day long in the corner, and I'm blocked off from the rest of the house and from the family and everything. And so it really became obvious to me that I needed freedom. And so my office shortly after that got completely ripped apart and moved. It's now very open, as you can see. I mean, that's very open. And I spend a lot of my time working on my patio now. So I'm outdoors. You can take a laptop anywhere. And as an online entrepreneur, you can work from anywhere. So I spend a lot of time on my patio. That's really important. Other values for me are being playful. So if I'm not feeling lit up and playful and in touch with my inner child, then there's something off. So my work has to be playful. So I goof around. I'm not what you would call professional. I like to have fun and goof around and tell jokes and be a little bit inappropriate sometimes. And that's okay, because that's who I am.
So in what ways then has it impacted the actual business? So having values is fine, and acting in accordance with them is great, I guess, because as you say, it's not forced. Nothing that you do becomes hard work as such, because you're able to say, well, I'm doing this because it's a priority for me. It's something I value most, and that's why I tend to feel good. But at some point, we need to realize that we need to benefit the business as well.
Yes.
So like, how can I put it? Just goofing around probably isn't going to benefit the business as much as, depending on what business you're in, for instance, there's always that limit where we sort of say, okay, this has to benefit the business though. Like we can't just goof around and then hope something kicks off. Yeah. So at what point do you like blend the values with, okay, this is also a business?
Absolutely. It shows up in my branding a lot. So my branding before, it was very, very structured and strict and not playful. My branding now is very playful. I have pictures of me jumping around and frolicking in the meadow. I mean, it's changed my branding big time. It's also changed my bank account because I work less and make more money now, just because I am able to show up as who I am. And so my coaching is more authentic. My interactions with people is more authentic. I'm more confident in how I show up. And so because I'm me, I'm showing up as me, I don't have to fake it and be somebody else. No. Because that shows up immediately too. When your clients are working with you and you're not being authentic, that's going to show, and they're going to know it, and they're not going to pay you as much, if and anything at all. So there's definitely those pieces. I really notice it in my branding. I notice it in my interactions with clients. I show up being more playful now. Instead of, we got to get shit done and we got to focus on this, I bring in some more fun and play, and then we get shit done. And it's easier to get shit done when you are happy and feeling light and playful.
Yeah, that's something that I've noticed as well. Like just with the people that I work with, I mean, the amount of people that I've spoken to that enjoy what they do, but their versions of that are different. So there are people that enjoy writing emails. Yes. There are people that genuinely do enjoy like building websites. There are people that genuinely do enjoy like sitting down and writing a 50,000 word essay or book or something. Or so there are just because it's not like playful or happy or amazing for you, there are people out there that do value that and do like that and do see that as their play. Some people enjoy writing. Some people enjoy like the pictures that the words can create in your mind and all of those things. And I think that, I mean, just me personally, I think that we're at a point where the more we do that, the more we struggle because we realize just how unique we are. We realize just how, different we are from other people, even if it's in subtle ways. We realize, like, I mean, I do enjoy writing, but I couldn't sit down and write a book. There's just I haven't got the attention span for that. There is no hope for me when it comes to writing a book. I've tried and I've failed miserably several times. So there's always this need to fit in to a certain extent. That's how we're wired as humans. But we're in an age whereby showing how we're different can also benefit us. So share your thoughts on that conflict and that kind of push and pull of trying to find people that we're similar than enough to call friends or clients or colleagues or people to work with, and linking that with, okay, well, I'm also different. I'm also unique. I'm also myself. And again, it's a bit of a very, very, very long question. But there's the difference between like how the business is run in accordance with your values, and then trying to find people that are also similar enough to work well with, because having that level of uniqueness must be tough. It must be conflicting depending on who you're talking to. It must be very difficult to actually navigate your life and your business that way. So share your thought. I mean, it's a very long-winded question, but I'm open to hearing your thoughts on it, because although I do firmly believe in it, I also believe in this idea of being flexible and maybe showing more of a particular value in a particular situation so that you can actually navigate the situation. Because sometimes being playful in a serious situation is probably not the best idea in the world. You can still have humor in things, but having like different continuums of how much of your values you actually use helps you navigate the world to a certain extent. So share your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so definitely a long question. I hope I can do it justice. What I really think it comes down to is having an understanding of who you really are and how you best show up in the world will give you that stability and that structure to be able to navigate where certain values come in and where some don't. Because you're right, being playful at a funeral, not a good idea.
No.
And yet I still joke. And there's also a level of emotional mastery that you need to bring in as well. So once you start to understand who you are and how you show up in the world, you understand your strengths and your weaknesses. And I love to just focus on my strengths, but when you understand what your weaknesses are as well, you can bring people in to help support you with those weaknesses, to help you navigate certain areas of your business that you may not be strong in, or to navigate things in your relationships or whatever that might be. So that's where you might bring in a coach to help with things like that. Having that emotional mastery gives you the understanding of what's going on in your physical body, why you're feeling bored or upset or frustrated or lethargic or any of that, to help you navigate so that you can change that vibe and move it into something that's more productive, more playful, happier, all those things. So there's that understanding of yourself, and then there's the emotional mastery piece to tie it all together. And when you understand yourself, you understand your emotions and how to navigate them, you start to bring people into your world. You just attract them like a lighthouse, the people that will fill those spaces where those weaknesses are. Last year, when I was really frustrated and freaking out about my business and that it wasn't in alignment, I had a virtual assistant come to me and ask me if she could intern with me for 6 months. So I got a virtual assistant that I got to train. She worked for free for 6 months. She took over all of my clients so that I could open space for this new business model of mine. And now her and I are best friends. She's from Australia. She's coming to visit me in Canada in January. I can't live without her now. And it was like the universe was going, here you go. Here's a space in your world that you need support in, something that you shouldn't be doing anymore. Here's the person to fill it. That's kind of how I look at it.
So is it a moment when it sort of lines up then? As in, you mentioned that knowing the parts of yourself, right? The good parts, the bad parts, the parts that improve, the parts that keep the same, the parts to show up more of, the parts to show up with less. You mentioned like the VA sort of turned up, I guess, to fulfill the part that you needed to fill. Now, There are people, I'm sure, that could be watching this are thinking, well, is that luck? Is that the more clarity you get, you start to look for those things, and then lo and behold, the VA turned up? I mean, I like the idea as an idea that, like, as long as you know what your weaknesses are, you'll find people to help support them. But what if it's an important conversation? What if we're talking life changing? So the the idea of values changes everything. It changes a lot of the decisions that we make. It changes the reasons why. I like to think that values provide a very, very clear reason why for everything. So why are you moving house? Well, I'm moving house because I value my freedom, and that means I can do X, Y, and Z. If you want a more playful brand, for instance, then it's like, right, well, that means I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to have a bouncy castle in the back garden, I've got to, whatever it is, right? I'm making stuff up as I go along. But there's this element of like how you show up can be a small thing. It can be like little tweaks to the way that you go about your day, little tweaks to the way that you create content. Like a lot of my content now is either like media, so blogs or podcasts or videos, or like short written posts. I very rarely write long posts on Facebook because I would rather do a video on Facebook because it's easier and it makes my life easier. So, but then we talk about the bigger decisions, like, I don't know, could be someone that you get along really well with, but they are a detriment to the business. So you've got to have that conversation. You've got to, but that's life changing. Like, that is business changing. That is life changing because it's an important decision. So is there a limit to those sort of decisions, that the values will come into it? Or are you a proponent for, even if it's life changing, you've got to do what's fitting the values. You've got to do what's best for you ultimately. And one of the things that I do want to sort of bring up, I guess you could probably use this to help you answer a little bit. So I'll go off a bit, give you a chance to think. Is it when you do what's right for you, right? This is one of the things that I sort of think of, and I realize how hard it is. So that's why I'm talking slowly. When you find out what's best for you, the right people come along, which kind of means that you do what's right for you, that's also right for them.
Yeah.
So you've got this element of, like, when I started doing what's best for me, the right people came along, which meant I didn't have to change. It was almost too easy for me to be myself and still fulfill like other people around me because they were the right people. Like, it was so aligned, which meant that I didn't have to try and please them, so to speak, because me being me and doing things the way I wanted to do things also satisfied the situations. It was like I didn't have to figure out what they wanted. I didn't have to figure out what they liked. I didn't have to figure out what they hated in some ways. I didn't have to do that. I mean, every time we butt heads, it's like a little conversation about like what we really meant, maybe, or like maybe I didn't come across as well as I should have. It wasn't quite clear. There's no like push and pull. It's like a little nudge as opposed to a push and pull. So there's a real argument for showing up as yourself properly, fully, and everything else means that everything happens to make your life easier rather than harder. Even if it, like, you've got to let, I don't know, you've got to let like your friends go to find new friends. You've got to move house to get away from things. You've got to do the big important decisions, the things that will literally like tilt your life on its axis, right? The things that would like completely throw your world in disarray, for the sake of being in alignment with your values and who you are. So how far would you take self-awareness and acting in accordance with your values?
I would take it all the way. It really does become easier when you are in alignment. And you can make your life really hard if you want to, and just keep pushing and keep trying and keep forcing. or you can turn your life upside down to get rid of the things that don't fit, and then watch as everything just becomes easier. It really is. I have cut out people from my life like that, just because it's not a fit anymore. I can't be friends with you anymore, and I've just walked away. I've walked away from family members. I've walked away from situations that don't work anymore, because it just is hard. It's harder to stay than it is to leave. It's harder to keep forcing it than it is to just turn your life upside down, burn it all down, and start over. And that's hard too, but it's a hell of a lot easier than forcing yourself for the next 20 years to make this work, when it's so much easier. Now, when I decide that I want to go do something, I set that intention, and whether you believe in a higher power or universe or God, whatever that looks like for you, it will conspire to help you. When you set an intention and you put your desire out there, the universe goes, okay. And if you're in alignment, it gives you everything you need to make that happen. And I've seen it happen over and over and over again in my own life, in people's lives around me, in my clients' lives. It's amazing what happens when they're willing to turn their life upside down. So when I see a challenge come up in my life, I go like, oh, goody. Something else to tear down. I get really excited about it now.
Well, what if you've got someone that's like, I guess, like the, how can I put it? The easiest way of putting it. Someone that values like being a strong person.
Mm-hmm.
So someone that like actually thinks that the fight can like be a good thing for them.
Mm-hmm.
Like someone that thinks that if they stop forcing it, it's like that then conflicts with everything. And that like isn't, I mean, I know I'm kind of going off track from the self-awareness thing, but there are people out there that value the fact that they're a strong person, a strong-willed person, and they see the fight as like they're getting stronger, or maybe the fight is something that they feel is worth it. Maybe they feel that the fight is worth it. Maybe there's someone that needs the struggle to a certain extent. Maybe there's someone that thrives under pressure, or whatever version of justification these people have. You sort of see it as like part of who they are to a certain degree. And yet, in the back of their mind, they're probably still struggling.
Yeah.
They're probably still having a hard time, but ultimately it's like they've got this like pros and cons list flying around in their head, and it isn't a list. It's like a mesh. It's like a spider's web. It's like, you know, like when you're younger and you've had like, or maybe just part of the world I'm in, where we had like the balls of elastic bands, right? And you wrap the elastic bands around it to make the ball bigger, and it's all over the place, right? And everything is a mesh, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger the more you add to it. And it gets more and more complicated the more you add to it. Probably just me that got elastic bands and made like a bouncy ball out of elastic bands. But anyway, beside the point. What advice would you give to those people?
Yeah, so I would invite someone like that to choose their battles. If they love the fight, find a fight that's worth fighting instead of fighting against themselves, because that's really what they're.
I like that.
If they just want to fight with something, then pick a battle that's worth fighting. Find a cause, or, you know, find a business that lights you up and fight to make it work, but in alignment with your values, right? There's something to be said about fighting for a cause, but it's got to be worth it for sure. Yeah.
How have you got any like tells or signs that the fight is worth it? Is there like certain traits of a fight that's worth it? Certain aspects of it? Because it mean like the idea that the business is just a business and your life is just your life and they're separate isn't really true anymore. They're all very meshed together.
Yeah.
So there could be a fight that isn't business related that might still impact the business. And, you know, again, the elastic band ball just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, right?
Right.
So are there any signs that the fight is worth it? Is it all based on how you feel about it? Is it all based on, like, if you overcome a small win, for instance, does that give you the enough to move on? Or do you achieve that small win and still think, gotta do it again? Or is it a bit more to it? Because obviously I have a level of understanding about what works for me and the clients I work with and the people that I've spoken to, and that's the impression I get. The impression I get is if it's in alignment with your values, you push more.
Mm-hmm.
If it's in alignment with your values, you don't give up. But then if you're pushing it uphill all the time, there's no rest either. Like, there's no moment when I'm still up for carrying on. It's, for me at least, it's although the grind is getting you down, you still ultimately feel good about the fact that that is what you're doing. You still feel good about the fact that the struggle makes sense. The struggle is worth it because it's worth it to you, because you understand what your priorities are and you understand that, you know, perhaps this is the only way, which we're going to get to in a minute, by the way. So what sort of traits do you see in the work that you've done, right? So this is your thing, right? Self-awareness is your thing. What specific tells do you have that the fight, the struggle is worth it? And then we'll get on to the next bit. I want to hear your thoughts on that.
Sure, absolutely. So it's definitely something for me personally that I feel in my body. And the people that I work with, same thing. If I get, like, say I'm doing a sales page, for example, and I'm working away at it and I can feel my body starting to slouch, my back's starting to hurt, I'm getting bored, I'm getting distracted by Facebook really easily. There's something that's not there. When you get into that jam and you're just like, oh my God, this is so good. And you get goosebumps all over your body. You get that fire in your belly. You feel amazing. You want to get up and, like, dance around the living room because life is so good. Then you're on the right track and the fight's worth fighting. And it doesn't really feel like a fight because you're dancing in the living room. So it's that feeling that you get in the body. It's same thing with even in your personal relationships. If you get into a fight, it happens with your loved ones. We get into a fight. You will know if it's worth fighting or not from the feelings that you feel in your body. And you will know that if you're either defending or you're judging, that person is mirroring something back to you that you see in yourself. You will know, and you will, the more you tap into who you are and understand that emotional mastery piece, that will really start to show up in your world. And you'll go, oh, I'm actually judging that person for doing that thing because I've done it in the past and I'm actually judging myself. This fight's not worth fighting. Or maybe it is. It all depends. Everybody's different. So I know in my personal life, my boyfriend and I never fight anymore because it's not worth fighting. I'd rather communicate it out. I haven't had a fight with my boyfriend in over a year.
So there is that part then whereby it's almost like it prevents struggle to a certain extent, as we mentioned before, where, like, there's no fights anymore. There's no fights. There's no resistance. There's no, like, push and pull. It's all pull. But even when things get hard, you keep pulling because there's no push.
Yeah.
Like, when it's almost like it's all moving in the same direction. Yeah. Like, the more resistance there is, the more you're, like, misaligned somewhere. The more there's something going on. The more you need to change because the resistance is there.
Yeah.
So, in essence, then, there's only one direction, isn't there? There is only one direction that we should be going in that feels to us, whether we let people go, whether we don't, whether we carry people with us. The people that we carry, we want to carry. So the struggle, we like it. The different people that help us along the way, the different people that we let go. It's almost like we're going down a river, if you will, and the destination is, you know, wherever the destination is. But the direction always wants to be consistent. The direction always wants to be in alignment with your values. And when we try to go away from that, when we try to fight the current, like using the same analogy, when we try to fight the current, that is where the resistance is, and that is where change needs to happen in order to be in alignment with it. So what advice would you give to someone, because I don't know who's listening or watching, by the way, because we're live on your profile, not mine. So having that thing in place can make your life easier, but then that can also bring up a lot of fear in terms of, to do this, that means I've got to start letting people go. Or to do this, that means I've got to start completely changing my business. Everything's got to change. I've got to basically throw everything out the window and start again. And that can often make things worse. That can often make the situation worse, because you've got the lesser of two evils then. You've got the, well, maybe it is worth sticking it out, because it's going to be like the little niggles every day is probably going to feel, at least, not as bad as throwing everything in the kitchen sink out the window and then starting again. So for someone that, again, this is getting back to someone that actually like wants to keep going, wants to keep pushing, even though it isn't in alignment with who they are, is this actually worth it when it comes to doing it? Is it worth it? Are there little niggles every day, the little fights, the little push and pull of the business, the little decisions that you have to make, and all these things? And sometimes you make them for the right reasons, sometimes you wish you hadn't. And is it worth it to start again? Is it worth it to come up with your values and how you show up and everything else? Is it ultimately worth it in comparison to just sticking it out?
In my personal opinion, 100% worth it. It makes your life so much easier and just happier. And I mean, really, in the end, all of us just want to be happy. We don't want to be miserable and stuck in front of a desk 15 hours a day. I don't know anybody who wants that. And if you say you do, you're probably lying to yourself. If for somebody who loves the push and loves the fight and is thinking about, you know, is it worth it to tear it all down? I would start with one thing at a time. Don't throw it all out at once, because that will be torture and it will be very, very hard. But start with one thing where you notice one thing in your business that you absolutely hate doing. Switch it, change it, give it to somebody else. Change it up, stop doing it altogether. Just change that one thing and see what happens. See what that opens up for you for a new opportunity. Same thing with friends or personal relationships. If you have one friend that drives you bananas and you just can't, you get a text message from them and you're like, oh my God, not again. Get rid of that one friend. Don't get rid of all your friends. Just that one friend. Stop talking to them. Phase them out, or just stop talking to them altogether, whichever one you choose, and see what that opens up. See what kind of new relationship comes in. So what happens is when you clean out space, it allows for the universe to go, here's the things you actually want. And so a new friend might pop into your world that's absolutely amazing, and you get a text message and you're like, oh my God, I can't wait to go see them. Or a new opportunity in your business will open up when you get rid of that one thing that you hated doing. So I wouldn't recommend just burning it all down at once, but take the little things that you hate the most and start moving them out one at a time. Baby steps.
What about the big decisions? So there could be people that go, oh, well, I'll get rid of all the little stuff and then I'll use that as an excuse to attack any of the stuff. So at what point do you decide, okay, big thing time, and then start attacking that?
Yeah, I think that'll come once you start getting rid of the little things. You'll start to see, and the little things give you the belief that the big things are possible. So the baby steps, baby steps, baby steps, and then you will feel inspired to go, oh my God, this thing's big. I need to change this. But you've been doing the work for the last few months to get rid of the little things. The big thing gets easier. Still hard, but easier.
Yeah, I've got. Yeah, I mean, is there an argument for like breaking the big thing down? Maybe like having think right. Well, this big thing could probably do with having like 3 or 4 parts to it. This big thing probably could have a handful of things that I could do to at least start making the progress on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I did that with my business because I've changed my business structure completely on its head. But it's taken me 10 months and I broke it down. So I
Right.
started eliminating the clients that I really didn't like working with. They went first. But I've been hanging on to clients that I love because I don't want to let go of them and they're amazing and I love working with them. But then I'm still doing tech work and I don't want to do it anymore. And so letting go of those amazing, lovely clients is a little bit harder, but I've broken it down. I didn't just one day wake up and fire every client I had. I did it step by step by step. So it's really important, yeah, break the big stuff down because otherwise you'll have no income if you fire all your clients in one day. Then what are you going to do?
Yeah, that sort of makes sense there. I mean, it's hard, I'd imagine, with some steps to be easier than others to break down. I mean, ultimately, I mean, if we're like firing a business partner, or there's sometimes you can kind of like give them less tasks to do and involve them a little bit less, so they feel like maybe they're not having as big of an impact on the business before you then say, look, it's not working, or so there are. I imagine there are certain ways you can manipulate certain things in order to break things down. But I mean, for people that are watching, you are probably just gonna have to bite the bullet and do it with some things.
Yep.
With some things, you're just gonna have to go. You know what? I am gonna have to burn this down, and I am gonna have to rebuild it. But if you start with the small things, which you recommended, Cindy, it gives you the power at least to be able to rebuild quicker sometimes.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, is that the case?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It builds that belief and the muscles for, it's like going to the gym every day. You need to build those muscles up to get better and better and better at it. And so you start with the little things and you build yourself up to the big thing.
All right, cool. Yeah. So we've talked a lot about self-awareness and everything. Unfortunately, we started late, so we're going to hopefully get on to the last couple of questions for the first episode of the Almost Ruined show for the first time. I thought we'd probably end on, if someone wanted to find out what they valued, have you got a process for that? I've got a process for that, but I'm not a self-awareness. So, what have you got a fast process to find it out? Have you got something that people can take away, they can go through to find out what their values are?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things you can do, I mean, there's lots of different value exercises you can do out there. The fastest track is to get a divine purpose blueprint. And what I do with that is I tap into your personal code, what makes you unique on this universe, makes you the snowflake that you are. And I tap into that and I spend an hour with you, give you a document, and it literally tells you exactly who you are, how you show up in the world, how you are unique, ways to navigate, overwhelm, all of these things. And that's probably the fastest way. And I love to just hop on for a free 30-minute call with anybody who would like to explore that option and see if it's a fit for them. I always like to give a little example of how it works because it's not something that you can just Google. It's a process. Intuitive. It's something that I tap into intuitively, and it's not something that you can just Google and find the information. So I always like to invite people in for a free call with me first to make sure that it's a fit. Not everybody loves intuitive tools. Some people like to push.
So what was the name of the blueprint again?
It's called a Divine Purpose Blueprint.
Okay. Just writing it down, just making sure I've got that. So it's the Divine Purpose Blueprint. Now that isn't like that isn't a download or a checklist or anything, is it? That's more of a session with you, and by the end, they will have their values mapped out. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. So
And
yeah,
you're able to send us a link for that, and we can put it in the notes for the show and everything, so people can access that if they want it.
absolutely. I will for sure.
All right, awesome. Before we get to the last question, where can people find out about you? So where can people find out about you, what you've got going on, and yeah, rather than do the call, which I'm sure people will do, if they just wanted to reach out to say, you know, great show, Cindy, it was awesome, and all that sort of stuff, where can people find out about you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm all over Facebook as Cindy Van Arnam, and my website is cindyvanarnam.com. I'm on Instagram as Cindy Van Arnam. I made it really easy to stalk me online. I do 2 Facebook Lives every day where I tap into the collective energy and share how to create consistent content in your business without having to push or work hard. And I also have a Facebook group called The Universal Guide to Being a Well-Balanced Solopreneur. I'll share all this as well in the comments so that you can find it really easily.
Cool.
We love to have conversations in that group about maintaining the balance and emotional mastery and self-awareness and all that good stuff.
Awesome. If you could sum up the benefits that self-awareness has on your business, try and keep it to as few sentences as possible, how do you round it off?
Passionate and on fire. Every day I get out of bed, I am excited about what I do. I'm excited about the people that I get to serve and help. And it's freaking awesome.
Awesome. Right, well, Cindy, thanks for sticking through it. We got to the end of the first one despite all of the technical glitches. We made it to the other side. Do we have any questions or comments on the Facebooks? And we'll get to those before we finish. If anyone is watching, I can't see them. So Cindy will have the honor of reading out questions if we have any, or just general chat with the people that are watching.
Yeah, there's no questions on here. We've had a few
No questions?
questions.
All right, cool. That means you must have covered everything. You must have battered self-awareness to death and
Right?
death by Facebook Live. Anyway, right. So, Cindy, thanks for being a guest. I appreciate it. We'll put all the links to everything in the show notes so everyone has access to the call from yourself and have access to the Facebook group should they want to join. Make sure you like the Facebook page, Mike McDonald, so you can have access to all of the future shows. I will figure it out sooner or later, Cindy, I promise. And I'm sure we'll keep in touch.
You betcha. Thank you so much, Mike, for having me on your show.
I know, it's not even a tour soon, just see how it goes.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. I actually have to hop on another call with a client right now. I'm sorry, I gotta go. Oh.
That's okay. Yeah, no problem. So as long as you send everything off to me,
Yeah.
I don't know if I can access, because what I want to do is I want to download the shows and put them on my YouTube channel. So I don't know if I can actually do that my end because we went live on your show.
Yeah, I'll send it.
Pardon?
I can send it to you. It's not a problem. Oh, you're frozen.
Cool. Because what I'll do is I'll load the show and then the YouTube link so people can check out the replay, all right?
Yeah, you betcha. And yeah, if you want to just send me your email address, I'll send you the recording so that you have it too.
All right, do you want me to send it you here or on Messenger?
Messenger.
All right, cool.
Okay.
Right, Cindy,
Thank you.
Go. Come on, yeah.
Hi, he froze.